My name is Zach Costilla. This is my wife, Victoria, and we've been members here for 4.5 years. Moved here in 2020 during the pandemic, and this is our story. But my story begins with Victoria, so I'll let her go first.
Well, we migrated from Mexico when I was 5 years old, and I've been here in the United States ever since. And really, we grew up Catholic, and probably about when I was 11 years old, someone introduced us to a Baptist church, and we started going. And I heard the gospel many, many times, but it wasn't until I was 15 that the Lord showed me that I was lost. Obviously, I knew I was lost, and He saved me. I've never been the same since. I can't always say that I've served Him. I walked away from Him, and He brought me back to the fold. And honestly, my life is that of a prodigal child brought back to the Lord, and here I am.
I grew up in a Catholic home. Also, we were seasonal Catholics, Easter, Christmas, and in my childhood, at some point, my dad developed a problem with drugs. He had a problem with alcohol my entire life, and everything just kind of fell off the rails, or the wheels fell off the wagon, or however you want to put it. But family fell apart. But the more things fell apart, the more he wanted to get in church to try to fix it. And it didn't solve anything being religious. And the harder he tried, the more hypocritical everything seemed to become, and the more forced everything was. And I got really angry with God and didn't want anything to do with religion. And at the age of 17, I left home and joined the Air Force to be my own person, to get away from all the influences there. And for 2 years, I served in the Air Force. And all this time in my childhood and in the first 2 years in the military, I'd never once heard a clear presentation of the gospel in a way that I understood it. And then I had a coworker whose wife worked with somebody. They wanted to introduce us. And she was the first person I ever cared about my soul. I mean, not just because I made her happy or she liked me, but cared about my soul. And I married her, and we'll hit 30 years this year in marriage. But she would pray for me. She loved me. She loved me unconditionally. She loved me sacrificially. And she never nagged at me, berated me, insulted me, tried to twist my arm to come to church. And but the way she loved me, she asked me, and I just couldn't say no. And I thought to myself, because I wasn't a great airman as an unsaved person, if I can stand a detention for an hour because I did something stupid, I can sit in church for an hour. But I didn't want to tell her no. And after a while of doing everything you can not to listen, I got bored with that. So I started actually listening. And for the first time, I heard the gospel in a way that I understood. And I realized that I needed to be saved. And Friday night at my pastor's dinner table, I accepted the Lord in Close, New Mexico, and my life hasn't been the same ever since. I spent 20 years in the service, and we lived all over. We went into full-time ministry when I retired, and because of health reasons, I had to step out of full-time ministry, and we retired down here in 2020 from the pandemic. And God has been so good in bringing us to Bible Baptist. The preaching, the teaching has been just what we've needed. It's always been Bible-based. It's always been about your relationship with God, your walk with God, drawing close to God, about true worship of God, and not about doing something because you've got to appease or try to earn something from God. And it's just been something where every time I've come, I've gotten fed, and it's what we need. And that's why we're here.
We are the Costillas, and our lives have been changed by the good news.